Hello dear students, for information from the previous seminar in a more compact way. So in Excel you have some cells to work with, and they usually have certain address, like for example this cell, it has the address C3. And if we want to calculate something, we can use relative formulas for it. For example, if you want to get the Fibonacci sequence, we can build it using formulas and referencing. We can reference to a cell by mouse click, or we can enter the address from the keyboard. Both variants work fine. So in this case we can extend some values by clicking in bottom right corner of the rectangle. It will spread the formula in a certain range. In this case it was just mouse click, mouse pressed, and then I extended the formula. And you can see that in each cell the formula is the same, and it's the value is built on the values of previous two elements of the sequence. Okay, let's assume that I want to get some, well, sequential list of numbers. In this case I may write just 1, 2, and then select this range of two numbers, and then point the mouse to the bottom right corner of a rectangle and double click it, and it automatically is expanded up to row number 21. Another way to calculate some values, for example, we can reference here to the value in column B1, and then I can use the following approach. I get the previous value calculated, then I multiply it by the value from the column to the left. In this case it will be column B. So by this calculation I get the factorial of the numbers presented here. And you can see that starting from a certain value, the number representation format is changed from usual representation to a scientific one, or you can call it exponential variant. And in this case 4.79 plus 0.8 means the same as this expression, like 4.79 multiplied by a number with 8 zeros. If I change the width of this column, it will automatically change the way of representation of numbers, and we can see that this expression is almost equal to this one. If we divide one by another, the difference is quite small. Okay, and there are some another things which are related to working with numbers in Excel. The first one, usually this representation is not the best one for big numbers, so you can click here on a format with delimiters and change it to this variant of representation, and then you can remove delimiters. So here you can see that the numbers are in a more compact and a more readable format. Then I can extend our initial sequence up to member number 27. So the 27th element is quite huge number, and you can see that starting from a certain value there is some loss of accuracy or precision, and taking into account that these numbers are of very big magnitude, this loss of precision is not very significant, but it can be important if you need some exact values. So when Excel is working with very big numbers, there is some loss in precision, and sometimes it should be taken into account. Well, okay. Cells in Excel, they have two variants. They can be relative, and they can have absolute references. The cell address contains two parts. It's the index of the column and the index of the row. Let it be the cell A3. And the absolute reference is A3, but in Excel, in order to make it absolute, you should add a dollar sign in front of it. So if you need to have absolute row, you place the dollar sign in front of row index. So in this case it will be a dollar sign 3. If you need absolute column, you can present it in this way, dollar sign A3. That's it. These features of absolute and relative references are rather important in case if you need to populate some values in a certain way. For example, if you need to build some kind of multiplication table like this one with 5 rows and 5 columns. In order to populate it in a correct way, I need to multiply the indexes for row and columns, and for column I need to keep row absolute fixed, and for row I need to keep the column in an absolute reference way. So now I can populate this table, and I can see that everything works as it should. So here we get the multiplication of 5 by 4, here we have multiplication of 3 by 3, and everything works correctly. Okay, then next thing related to working with numbers in Excel. You can work with usual positive numbers. If you need to work with negative numbers, you can just type minus in front of it. And one of interesting thing related to numbers is that in Excel all date and time formats are presented as numbers too. So here we have two identical columns, but in this we'll work with usual number format, and here we'll use date format. And you can see that the numbers are the same, but if I select this range and change the representation for date, it will present it in this way. So you can see that number 1 is the first day in Excel, which is the 1st January of 1900. And this date transformation works in both directions. So today it's 11th of March 2022, and if I reference it again in this form, and when I change the format from the date to number, you can see that it was changed to number 44,631. So this day has this index if we begin to count it from the 1st January of 1900. If we work with integer values like 1, like for example 45 and others, we can transform it to dates. But if we have some numbers with fractional part, we can use this fractional part as a time of a day. So here I can reference them again, and I'll show how different time and date formats work. So usual format for the date, it will be 1st of January, and in this case of 1900, and in this case it will be 14th of February of this year. Then I can change it to time representation. So we can see that point 3 is 7 a.m. and 12 minutes, and point 56 is 1 p.m. 26 minutes 24 seconds. And sometimes you may need to show both time and date for a certain cell value, so you can go again to number formatting. When you select other formats, check time and present it in this way, so you have date when you have time. And once again, this format change works in both directions. So I can enter, for example, 11/03/2022, and the time is 5 p.m. 58 minutes, and let's assume that 0 seconds. And then I can reference to this value and change the formatting to number representation, and you can see that it was automatically converted to a number. And this number to time and time to number transformation can be very useful for some type of calculations. For example, you have a very famous and very popular YouTube video which has more than 10 billion views. Let's assume that it's 10 billions, 300 millions, and you know the length of this video. It is 2 minutes 16 seconds. We can check that this is well, okay, it's not, in this case it's not 2 minutes 16 seconds because it shows that it's 9 hundredths of a day. We need to change it. So the number formatting should be changed, and here I should delete this part, and then 00 semicolon. Well, now it seems to be okay. Well, it's if we change it to time format, it will be 0 hours, 2 minutes and 16 seconds. So, in order to calculate how many time it will require for a person to watch this video by herself or himself, we can calculate the amount of views which can be achieved during one day. So it will be views per day, and it will be 1 or 24 hours divided by the length of the video. By default it will be presented in the time format, which is not convenient for us, so we change it to number formatting. So this video can be watched 635 times in a row during one day. Then we can calculate amount of days to watch. It will be views divided by the views per day, so it's like 16 millions, and then we can convert these days to years, so years to watch. It will be this number divided by 365.24. So more than 44,000 of years to watch all these 10 billion views. Well, okay. Another use of this time and date formatting is that you can easily calculate the date which is certain days before or prior to current date. For example, today we have 11th of March 2022, and for example we can calculate the 1000th day from today. It will be on the 5th December 2024, and it works in both directions, so 1000 days ago was 15th of June 2019. There are some other tricks which are related to application of different formats in Excel. For example, we can create some unusual type of date visualization of infographics, and for this we will need a set of numbers from 1 to 100. So I can just populate the formula and then to adjust it manually in order to get the numbers ranging from 1 to 100. Then I can change the width of the columns. For example, let it be 3, so it's presented in a more compact way. Then I can change the borders, and the next step will be, well, to add some cell as a reference. Let it be cell with address 02, and then we can apply conditional formatting to it. So we go to conditional formatting, then we can create a rule, then we can select the second option to format cells based on their values, and here we can select that we format all the cells which are less or equal to our cell 02. and then we can adjust the formatting with this, well, tangerine fill. Okay, so you can see that all the values which are below or equal to 35 are formatted with this fill. If we change it, for example, for 67, it will be redrawn automatically. But here we have all these numbers, and for some reason we may decide that these numbers should be hidden. In this case, we can go apply some formatting magic. So we go to special type of formatting, then we go to the end, and there are a lot of different formats, but all of them are not suitable for us. So we just delete here the basic format, and then use this sign repeated 3 times. We click OK, and everything is hidden. This sign was used. It's like, I think, semicolon. Well, you can see that there are 3 of them. So actually there are some values in the cells, and there are some formulas, and you can check it in this formula field, but they are not visible. And if we, for example, remove here some grid, you can see that everything was hidden. Then we can use some additional trick. We can link this cell to a control element. So I can go to developer tab. It should be it is inactivated by default, but it can be activated in the parameters in the default tab. Then I can go to insert, then I can select slider and place it somewhere here. Then I can change the representation of the slider, and then, for example, I can change its format. So we have numbers ranging from 1 to 100. Then we can use the step of 1, and the page changing of step, maybe it will be 5. We can link it to this cell, and that's all. So here it's activated for the value of 10. When I change it to 12, and I, for example, can slide it manually with a mouse, and you can see that the values are changed here. And if I apply, well, if I remove fill and I apply a special number formatting here, again with these 3 signs, and if I change the representation, you can see that all I have is this infographics and this slider, and it looks like it works automatically without any intermediate steps. So it's some kind of very simple program, but it's built in the Excel. So if you have any questions, you can ask them. And I think that's all for today for the topic of number formatting and for some basics of conditional formatting in Excel.